All right, are you back? Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Yeah. Try it.
Can we ever just meet in person? This is so annoying.
That's gonna make the outtakes.
Can you hear me?
We really should come with a bleep button. Like we should have warned Todd. Like ahead of time.
Welcome to Greatest Golfer. I'm the greatest guru, Todd Franco.
Guru.
Please, yeah, guru. That's actually
I like
kind of but yeah, so greatest guru. But pleased to intersect today away from golf and get into some greatest peeps that I know. Bergen, Alexa, and Ellie, how are you guys doing today?
Hi,
Good morning.
Hello.
doing well. Thanks for having us.
Where are you talking to me from? Ellie, where are you at?
I am at the Platt World Headquarters, located in Howland, Ohio.
All right. And Bergen, where are you calling us from?
I am in our offices, the world headquarters of One Hot Cookie, O Donut, and all the other stuff that we're involved in.
And that's in what town?
Oh, I'm sorry. And we're on Star Center, so Canfield Boardman.
Nice. Alexa, you're finding us from where?
Our world headquarters on Market Street in Boardman. Should I do the arms?
Yes.
Yes. Sweeney Chevrolet Buick GMC.
So who walks into the office more and does that, Alexa? Walks in the dealership? Is it staff or customers who try and do the on Market Street in Boardman?
Eric will tell you he gets it more than I do because it's his line, but definitely customers.
Chevrolet Buick GMC
on Market Street in Boardman.
I think during COVID, all the world pivoted, but auto industry for sure. It just seemed that, oh my gosh, are we going to see Lauren and Eric anytime soon again?
We did. They're back on. I was joking with these gals actually that we just recorded our first honest to gosh Sweeney ad in in a year and a half. We had.
All right, so you just referenced talking to these gals, and that's kind of why we're here today. And I've admired you guys from afar because you've mistakenly let me in on your Facebook and Instagram lives. Nothing too creepy's been on there, and I've not done anything creepy watching them, but I sat back and I remember one time am I staring at a freaking chicken coop?
That's me.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I'm not a big liker or a commenter, but I definitely want to see, and learn. And definitely.
So you're just a creeper.
Yeah,
Not
creeper.
a creeper. No, not a creeper.
You're not a liker or a commenter. You're just a creeper.
If I was a gal, would you have accused me of being a creeper, or is it a gender thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, possibly.
No, I think I would still call you a creeper.
Yeah.
Equal opportunity creeper. Yep.
Yes. But I'm like, every time I see you, I feel like you do know what's going on in our life and you comment on it, like you're excited about it. So some people just pretend they don't know you, but
yeah. And Todd, I like the way you look for trends and things. You know what I mean? You're very committed to the local community and what's going on. And I think it shows a forward thinking, that you did take that opportunity to say, I've noticed that this is happening. I want to learn about it.
Well, I appreciate that. It really also compensates for a really boring personal life that I have. Okay, so we've come through COVID and it's been a crazy 2 years. Talk to me about how you guys found each other and found a business life through COVID.
I remember Ellie got us all together on a Zoom for the very first time.
yes.
Like on a Sunday. We had the Zoom and it seemed like something out of the Jetsons or so weird that we were doing this video call.
Now it feels so normal, but yeah, you're right. We did it. It was a quarantine and cocktail hour, I think. But I love when you said that at Bergen too about I always forget. I take for granted like you and Spruce how you're doing so much online and Spruce is doing their live shows. And we 2 years ago, we weren't doing that as much. And I think that's been my biggest takeaway the last couple of years is to look at my friends to see how everyone has adapted so quickly. And really, I think we've thrived during this time.
How'd you guys find each other in the first place?
Can
you share it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ellie and I met through kids at preschool. Our oldest boys have been friends for years. And Bergen is responsible for dragging me into Dancing with the Stars at the Chamber of Commerce circa 2013.
Oh, that's right. And I think that when you and how far back we go, it's pretty interesting.
Talk about your business intersections and how your work lives came together over time. And if there's like a first incident where, God, I mean, I'm running a car dealership, but holy cow, did the cookie maker just teach me something there?
I'll jump in and just say that I feel like I lean on both Ellie and Alexa for different things at different times. So Ellie has scaled her business over the past couple years. And, as we're scaling, I'll reach out to Ellie and be like, hey, talk to me about internet-based phones, or tell me what you know about IT, because as she's networking, her different locations, we're trying to do the same. And then with Alexa, I reach out to her about a lot of like family dynamics in business. It gets all squirrely and weird sometimes. So she's definitely been through it much longer than I have. And she comes at it from a different perspective. So is that fair, guys?
Yes, absolutely. And I think a lot of times, we'll get together as friends and it automatically goes to, let's talk about this management issue, this employee issue. Let's troubleshoot this together. I think we still hold each other to a high standard, even though we're friends.
Yeah. Bergen's the first one to be like, I had a good experience, I had a bad experience, or, had you considered, or she'll try, she'll secret shop me sometimes when I'm like, I'm not sure that this shop flow between like when you call in and book a service appointment versus execution. And she'll be the first one, and she does not pull punches. So she'll let me know. She acts first and thinks about it later, and I'm the exact opposite. So sometimes when we get together,
and that's
it's really good. We push each other. I think we push each other well.
No, it's terrible.
It's wonderful. I love that about you.
I'm trying to get better at not being so knee jerky and like fly off the handle. So now I've gotten better. Like just this morning, I had something and I was like, I'm going to fly off the handle. And I texted Alexa, I'm like, I just need to vent for 10 seconds. She gave me a very calm, reasonable approach where I would have went in and been like, are you kidding me? Get out of here.
How easier is it for you to help each other out because you're all the same age, same lifestyle, same point? Does it help that you're three ladies in business?
And I struggle with the answer to this question sometimes because my work life is a very male dominated industry. So there's a little bit of balance that to me has nothing to do with gender. It's really the leadership point that we're all in, that we tend to gravitate to each other, I think, because we all own small businesses at the end of the day. And so those problems are universal, or those challenges are universal. When do you add a store? When do you not add a store? When do you, to Bergen's point about Ellie scaling, and then things that we really admire about each other. I think it helps that we're not direct competitors. So it's really like, how can we amplify each other in a really positive way? It never feels like competition to me. It feels like we really are trying to make each other better. So the gender, I don't think, at least to me, the gender doesn't have as much to do with the reasons we gravitate together as the leadership positions and the position in the community, like that feeling like we need to leave it better for the next generation, or we need to make the community we live in better. I feel that as an overwhelming, point more than the gender.
I think we've connected on, I think there's certainly things as women throughout the progression of our careers we've maybe had to deal with that maybe men have not, that I can talk to about Alexa and Bergen. But I feel free, with other people in our group of friends to have those same conversations.
I think it should be noted that in our group of friends, the men are in comparable positions, both leadership wise, business ownership wise. We're all sort of in the same boat. If gender is here, the overarching quality is business ownership or entrepreneurship, or like Ellie mentioned, the shared values. So it's not just, hey, we're women, or hey, we're women in business. It's, hey, entrepreneurship, kind of supersedes all that.
When you back up, were there female business leadership roles that you can remember back when you were 16, 18, 20 that helped motivate you to where you are today?
Good question.
That's a great question.
I have a funny story. I remember, I did not have a lot of strong female leadership or mentors, but I remember being in my dad's office, and because I would get sent there after school, I would read the business journal, and I remember reading about Andrea Wood and reading her editorials and thinking like, oh, that's cool. Like, it's ran by a woman. And then I remember the first time meeting her, I had this weird flashback to being in high school and waiting to go home. And, you didn't have cell phones. You didn't have really anything to do. So you were reading magazines and newspapers. And I'm like, well, this is the woman that like was writing newspapers when I was in high school.
Yeah, I think Andrea Wood's a great example. I mean, you said Mrs. Sweeney. Pat Sweeney is, if you talk about a badass, she's a badass. But I think she's a great example of a woman in leadership that I think maybe not going back to high school, but, Jan Strassfeld was another, one. It's been harder to find mentors for women in business, but I've had amazing mentors since my early days, just men and women. But Pat Sweeney is one for sure. Alexa might roll her eye.
No, she was great. She was definitely a get your education. No one can take away from you. Stand on your own 2 feet. She is a badass. She is definitely badass. But she was just there's nothing you can't do. She would throw away the secretary Barbies.
How have you managed your business growth and the gender issues that pop up? I believe the races everywhere and ages everywhere, and so too is gender. And they're not necessarily complete obstacles, but there's things that you learn and to navigate with.
I think I have sort of a gender neutral name. So people who don't know who I am think that I'm a man. And also people have come into the business, like, especially when we first started One Hot Cookie, and been like, oh, like, so I heard some guy named Bergen owns this. And like, they're having this conversation with me. And I'm just like, yeah. And they're like, oh, how, like, where's he from? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I just work here. So I think that there's just a lot of assumptions that if you don't know, you assume that a business is owned by a man.
Yes.
Or you assume that a man has put up the money behind it. I did a very challenging radio interview with a local AM station. And there were several questions of, well, how much money did your dad give you? And I said, none. My dad told me not to quit my day job. That was his advice. It wasn't like he was sending checks. And then he kept saying like, well, so what did your family do? And I so they just assume that a woman can't do it on their own unless the story is told.
Oh, you're getting me like, yes. So so I have a similar experience in the insurance world. The insurance world is run by women, but typically men own insurance agencies. So if I could count the number of times, when I started my business, the questions were, oh, are you in business with your husband? Did you inherit this business from your dad, was it just given to you, and that's always the assumption. And so and I know all of us have dealt with this, but I think, and I take great pride in saying, no, I built this thing.
Yeah. I'm often the only woman in the room. I'm often the only female dealer.
Yeah.
We were just at a California meeting with GM Financial, and the number of humans that introduced themselves to my husband and do not, that has not changed. And then the default, like, I don't know what it is about men or when they meet you for the first time, they want to talk to you about your children instead of your business.
Yeah.
That's some kind of equalizer. I find that fascinating, but I'll talk about my kids all day long. So,
yeah. But I think as women, and I think a lot of my progression in my career has been discovering, whoa, I know more than I do. I'm more capable than I am. And so I think that's one thing I've learned throughout my career is that I think women know a whole lot more than they think they do.
Well put.
Yeah.
I spent many years trying to convince my bosses, my non-golfing bosses, that there's actually really good business that gets conducted on the golf course. And at the time I was able to prove it, and now graduate that to the hanging out after the golf course with cigars and bourbon. And there definitely is, it is a cool collection of peeps that get together, and the bad scores intersect so seamlessly with the good business opportunities. And hey, can I get a quote? But the one thing I do notice in those gatherings, it's like 99.986% male. Where does that space and room exist on the female side of the fence? Or does it, or is there a need for it?
I would encourage you, this is going to sound a little bit snarky, but that's a great example of, you are the leader of this organization, this greatest golf organization. I'm almost interested in putting it back to you. Like, what are you going to do to diversify that group? What could we do to help you diversify that group so that those opportunities are open to people like us and they don't feel like there's a barrier that's unspoken or spoken to being at that? And you've done a great job already. I mean, Bergen and I were both on that invite list for the end party at the Lake Club for the finale.
Yeah.
But how could we work together to get more young people there?
When my high school kids in greatest graduate from high school into college and then they're 20 somethings, it is amazing to see the number of girls who drop off from that sport. To keep the girls involved in golf is just that they just disappear. So this past year we had five 20 something girls participating. It was the first time we had 5. And before we even talked golf, I said, or scores and greatest rules, I said, more so than what happens this weekend, I need you for these next couple of years. You have to feed into your friendships and tell me what I can do, because that 5 you are here is an opportunity that I just don't want to miss out on.
I do think that's a reality, though. There is I think as women, we are often excluded from those, conversations, those circles, those tables. And I think my instinct is we find ways to work around it. Like we lean into what we do well. But like what Alexa said, and I like that you went there first, is that we shouldn't be okay with it either. And I think as women, I think in my career, I've always just tried to like work around it and lean into maybe my other ways that I can have influence or network. I was at a meeting recently, it was all men and myself, and I was sitting there thinking, like, where they say this is the room where it happens. Like it was like this brain trust that I didn't know existed in Youngstown that somehow I didn't even know was there. And I think there are those dynamics that often as women, we are excluded from them. And I think our voice is critical. We need to be included in those rooms and in those conversations.
I think to answer your question in one way, where I have found the most opportunity has been volunteer board stuff. Even as a young person, I've been really intentional about filling tables for events, and you see a nice mix of both genders there. But a lot of leadership is that, to your Todd, the Boys and Girls Club events, the United Way events, those board opportunities and those fundraising opportunities and those volunteer opportunities really help. They have helped to level the playing field, I think, in my experience. If no one knows what you're like as a leader, those boards kind of level give you an opportunity to make an impact.
Mm-hmm.
To his original question, I don't think that there is a social space for women like there is for men.
That informal dynamic, where you're hanging out,
Yes,
drinking bourbon, smoking cigars after a golf game, I don't know that exists in the same way.
We've seen them try, but sometimes they can really be condescending. Like I've been invited to women's dealer events that are all like, here's how you should invest your money, because you obviously have no idea.
Yeah, I personally don't always connect in those all female groups. Let's all get women together, where, I agree with Alexa. It often feels condescending.
Whenever we want to get together for bourbon and cigar at the Lake Club, you'll make one of the most popular guys ever walking in there. So whenever you say, hey, send a text, let's go get bourbon and cigar.
Let's go get bourbon and cigar.
But I think that's how we change I think that's exactly how we open the doors, though. Like, so if you got Ellie, for example, into that, into that space, she'll get invited on her own next time, but you open the door. So the minute we may not be the default list of people you wanted to talk to, but if you are if the people that do have that access offer it to the next group coming up, that's how we make progress.
Right. But I find it funny sometimes, like men I'm just meeting, almost always, it leads to a conversation. They want to buy my business. They want to buy me. But that's another thing that always happens too. They either want to partner or buy my business. And
if they don't get the clue at that point, I think standing next to you at a bar and throwing back a shot.
There we go.
I had one experience with you several years ago. I'm thinking that I'm not messing with her because that whiskey went down just as quick with the other was sitting there.
But Ellie does a great job of bringing new people in. She's always one to bring someone new to the group, or bring someone to the table and be like, hey guys, meet so-and-so, they're amazing, and let me tell you why. Where I'm just not that friendly.
Well, thank you so much for the time today. Bergen outed me as a creeper. I didn't have that. But now I'm not. But that said,
I said it with love. I said it with love.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's a
so-
term of endearment.